Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my very early World Cup 2022 prediction video where of course today we're going to be predicting all 8 groups for the upcoming World Cup. Now as I said, this is an early World Cup prediction video as the World Cup is still like 7-8 months away. It's only being played in November, but of course the draw was released the other night and now we know which teams are going to play against each other in each of their respective groups. And of course looking at all 8 groups, I think from an entertainment point of view, this World Cup will not let us down.
Are you not entertained?
And of course the groups just being released, I wanted to give you guys my initial thoughts and predictions on all 8 of the groups. Now of course this isn't going to be a super accurate group to the World Cup as it is still so far away and a lot of things can still happen. So of course this is an early prediction video and I will release a final one, probably more accurate, 2 or 3 weeks before the actual competition. But of course I thought this might be a fun video idea to do, and of course looking at the 8 groups we have to talk about in today's video. As I said, I don't think there is one group that could disappoint me at this World Cup. I mean, to just look at the first group alone, I mean, to have Senegal and Netherlands in the same group. Looking at Group B, you've got USA versus England. Looking at Group H, to have a team that's got Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got Luis Suarez, you've got Heung-min Son, all in one group. This World Cup, at least on a group stage level, will not let us down. And of course, let me just remind you guys before we jump into my 8 group predictions, that of course, if you do like World Cup content or content like this, make sure to subscribe down below, because with the World Cup coming up at the end of the year, I can promise you guys I'm going to be making a lot, and I mean this, a lot of World Cup content, maybe even on a weekly basis leading up to the World Cup. So of course, if that sounds good to you, don't forget to subscribe down below. But of course, jumping straight in our predictions, Group A, I mean, what a group to talk about. First of all, obviously it's got Qatar, the home nation, but of course you've also got the likes of South American underdogs who have done very well to get to this tournament, Ecuador, you've got Senegal, the AFCON winners, and of course Netherlands, always a fantastic team to look at, especially in terms of their talent. This is not going to be an easy group to predict. Now of course, am I going to get any of these groups, or am I going to get everything in this video 100% correct?
Nope.
Most likely not, but as I said, I thought it would be a fun video to make, and yeah, I mean, I thought I might as well shoot my shot in terms of my predictions. But what are my initial thoughts looking at this group? To be honest with you, I am kind of going to put Qatar in 4th place in terms of my predictions. I do think that out of the 4 teams in this group, that they maybe aren't the best, to be honest with you, that out of these 4, that they probably rank in 4th place. I am sorry, obviously, if you are from Qatar, but that is just my initial thoughts. I've just seen a lot more from the other 3 nations over the last few years. In terms of 3rd place in the group, I am going to give Ecuador the door. Sorry for the pun so early on in the video. I know, don't worry, we'll get over it. But I hate to give Ecuador the door. I think they've done very well to qualify over some massive South American teams. Obviously, lots of people expected Colombia to qualify for this World Cup, but nope, of course, Ecuador qualified over them. I think they've kind of gone under the radar. I mean, they've gotten some big points and some big draws versus some big teams to qualify. So of course, they could upset lots of people, but I do think I'll put them in 3rd place. And of course, in terms of who I think initially will end up winning this group, as much as the African inside of me, as a South African, I really want an African team to win this. But of course, I do think Senegal will come in 2nd place, and I do think Netherlands will end up winning the group. Of course, a lot of pressure on Netherlands because they didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup. And I genuinely do think Senegal, they could win this group. I think that out of all African teams, they could make it furthest out of all of them. I mean, looking at them, they won the AFCON tournament. Obviously, they've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world, one of the best centre-backs, some of the best midfielders. They've got one of the best, if not the best, left wing in the world. I think Senegal could really give Netherlands a run for their money. But of course, looking at Netherlands as a whole, in terms of, you know, playing in big competitions, especially on a worldwide scale, I think that they could prove a point, obviously, because looking at Senegal, they do obviously play an African style of football, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that compares to other nations. But as I said, I do think Netherlands will end up winning this group. I just think they've got so much top quality talent, and I just can't see them coming 2nd place. But regardless of that, 2 teams make it through from each of the groups to the next stage, and I do think that will be Senegal and the Netherlands. Now, of course, jumping into Group B, I mean, we've got England and USA in one group. Call it the battle of football versus soccer. What a game that is going to be. But of course, looking at the group as a whole, one of the big talking points is the fact that one of the teams teams still has to qualify, because of course we've got England, Iran, USA, and of course the fourth team is going to be between Wales, Scotland, and Ukraine. It is yet to be decided. And to be honest, I think obviously in terms of my prediction between those three teams, just for some reason, I've got a gut feeling that Wales will end up qualifying. They've done really, really well in recent years in terms of qualifications, in terms of performances. I thought they were tremendously good at the Euros. But saying that, so was Scotland and Ukraine. So I think any of those three could qualify. And as much as I want that storytale ending for Ukraine, what's happening in the world at the moment, as much as I want them to qualify, I do want to remove the emotion out of this a tiny bit, because I do think Wales will qualify. At least my Lagos Nigerian cap is somewhat supporting the likes of Ukraine. But
that's not how it works.
But obviously, looking at the group, now that I've got all of them in, I mean, looking at the likes of Iran, to be honest with you, I mean, I ran home when I ended up seeing them in this group, because unfortunately I do think they are the weakest of these four teams. Look, don't get me wrong, I think they are a fantastic team. They have qualified for a lot of tournaments over the last few years, or they've at least impressed over the last few years. I definitely think their quality of football has definitely risen to the occasion many times before. But of course, just looking at them compared to Wales, compared to England, compared to maybe even the USA, I do feel like they might end up being disappointed. I do think, unfortunately, I am going to put Iran in fourth place. I am sorry. And of course, in terms of the other three teams, I'm not going to lie, this is going to upset a lot of soccer fans, because I might have to put USA in third place.
Say what now?
Yes, I know that is going to upset so many USA fans. I know many of you think that you guys have got a brilliant squad. And to be fair, you do. You've got some brilliant players amongst your squad. You've got some brilliant youngsters. I think the USA, come 2026, could have an absolutely brilliant squad. But unfortunately, just over the last few years, as we've seen on a world scale, maybe they haven't quite been there. They haven't qualified for a lot of recent tournaments. And you do have to take that into account. That yes, although I do think they could do well, they could 100% make it to the next stage. I have just seen a lot more from Wales and England over the last few years. And I do think Wales can go above USA in the squad, to be honest with you. As I said, USA is a team that they are going to be a big surprise in this tournament. I think that they could impress a lot of people, but just in terms of my initial prediction, I will put them in third place, and I am going to put Wales in second place. As I said, in some recent performances, I mean, especially the likes of Gareth Bale, he's been brilliant for them. The likes of Ramsey, in terms of their whole squad, when Ward is playing in the goalkeeper position, this Wales team looks very, very strong. And of course, that does mean that I will put England in first place in this group.
No, God!
Now, do I think it is coming home for England? That is not a question I'm going to answer yet, mostly because that's a question that will get me in trouble if I try to answer it. But of course, I've already seen it coming. I already see all the memes on Facebook and everywhere else on social media saying, oh, well, England's playing on the opening day of the World Cup. The last time they did that was 1966, and we all know what happened then. England, give it a bit of a break. Just see how it goes. Don't disappoint yourself too early, because it might not end up happening. But of course, in terms of the group, we know how strong England are. Obviously got to the final of the Euros. They were, third place in the previous World Cup in 2018. I mean, England definitely have a brilliant squad. They should win this group, and we'll have to see how they end up doing, which, yes, I know sounds mad, considering the fact that Wales haven't even qualified yet for the competition, and I've put them in second place. But as I said, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I might have to update that prediction sooner or later. Of course, looking at Group C, we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the battle we've all been waiting for. Lewandowski versus Lionel Messi, as we have Argentina and Poland in the same group. Of course, we've also got Mexico and Saudi Arabia. Now, I am going to say this, I do think Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, will be fourth place in their group. I do think they've got a good squad. Obviously, they qualified for the 2018 World Cup, but if I'm not mistaken, they lost, 5-0 to Russia in the opening game of the competition. Look, I think Saudi Arabia do have a good squad, but Mexico, Poland, and Argentina have always been a kind of threat when it comes to tournaments over the last few years, and because of that, I do have to put Saudi Arabia in fourth place. In terms of second, third, and first, I mean, it could really go either way, to be honest with you. But to be honest, I am going to say this, my initial thought is that I do think Argentina should win this group. I mean, they've got such a plethora of brilliant players in their squad. Plethora, that is your word of the day. But of course, they've got the likes of Lionel Messi. They've got Martinez in the striker position. They've got Emi Martinez in the goalkeeper position. The likes of Lo Celso's doing really, really well in qualifications. Obviously, they've got Romero, the Spurs centre-back. They've got a brilliant squad. Obviously, they came second place in the South American qualifications. They won the most recent Copa America. There is no reason why Argentina shouldn't win this one, which of course means that between second and third will be Mexico and Poland. And which team do I think will end up qualifying for the next stage? Now, I'm not going to lie, this is somewhat close in my opinion. I think Mexico have a brilliant squad, but unfortunately, I mean, they've kind of been shining at the youth levels, but not quite at a senior level, but they always have the ability to upset. I think Ochoa is a brilliant goalkeeper. Obviously, they've got Herrera in the midfield, they've got Jimenez up front, they've got Lozano. They do have a brilliant squad, but at the end of the day, I am going to have to give this one to Poland. I do think Poland will end up coming second. Yes, I know they haven't always been performing when it comes to tournament stages, but I'm just looking at this Poland squad. I mean, how can they not? Surely eventually they have to show up. I mean, Lewandowski, best striker in the world up front. You've got Zielinski, a brilliant midfielder. You've got Matty Cash in the right back position, his first tournament after changing the allegiances from England to Poland. You've got Szczesny in the goalkeeper position. Poland have an absolutely brilliant squad and could even rival Argentina to win this group. But in the meantime, I do think Argentina will be first and Poland will just sneak into second, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mexico end up stealing it. Now, of course, looking at the likes of Group D, I hate to say it, but as much as I want to be entertaining about it, I do think that there is an obvious winner, and of course, it has to be Tunisia.
Naughty, you teasing me, you naughty.
Now, of course, as much as the African once again inside of me would love to have that happen, I do think France are obviously the clear favourites. The 2018 World Cup winners. Obviously, I think they won the most recent Nations League. I mean, France, as we know, a brilliant squad. Obviously, when it came to the most recent Euros, they kind of dipped out a tiny bit early. But saying that, they do have a fantastic squad. They've got the best players in the world in pretty much every single position. They've got 2 to 3 of the best in every single position. They should win this one. No argument about it. Now, of course, looking at the team that has to still qualify that will be added to this group, it is going to be a tiny bit of a strange one, as it is going to be Peru, Australia, and the likes of the Emirates. Now, of course, looking at those three nations, who do I think will qualify? I am kind of torn, in my opinion, between the likes of Peru and Australia. And as much as I want the likes of good old Matty Ryan, the former Brighton goalkeeper, to qualify, I do think Peru will just squeeze in. I think they've been brilliant in the South American qualifications. They've definitely stolen some big points. And I think on the attacking front, I think, I don't know, I think when it comes to South American teams, they always have the ability to impress on a World Cup stage. I think they've always got the ability to pull out a few surprises. But of course, looking at that, that does mean that France, Peru, Denmark, and Tunisia would be in the same group. As I said, I think France will win it. Between the other three teams, I do think Christian Eriksen's Denmark will come second. I mean, looking at Denmark as a whole, as we know, fantastic squad. Schmeichel obviously was brilliant at the Euros. Obviously, Christian Eriksen ended up going out early due to cardiac arrest, but ever since coming back, he has been a beast. Contributed to that 4-1 win over Chelsea for Brentford, scored in both of his international games for Denmark in the international break. Denmark as a whole have got a brilliant squad. They showed that at the Euros, making it to the semi-final stage, and I think they'll come second in their group, which of course does leave the likes of Peru and Tunisia left. And I do think Tunisia, what I saw at AFCON, although they had a slow start, they were missing a lot of players to COVID, I do think Tunisia have a really good squad. They'll come third, and unfortunately, due to process of elimination, I think Peru will be fourth place. We'll have to wait and see. Now, of course, that takes us to our 4 final groups, Group E all the way to Group H. And looking at Group E, what a monstrous group. We have Spain and Germany in the same group. 2 previous World Cup winners, as we know, 2 monstrous teams. Obviously, we've got Japan, a team that can always cause upsets. They've got brilliant players in their squads. Obviously, they almost locked out Belgium in the 2018 World Cup. And of course, we've got our final playoff spot, which will be played by the likes of New Zealand and Costa Rica. Now, between Costa Rica and New Zealand, I'm not too sure who will qualify. Something about it just says New Zealand, in my opinion. But regardless of who it is, I do think that 4th team, compared to the others, will end up in 4th place, which does mean Spain, Germany, and Japan will be the front 3. Now, of course, who do I think will end up winning this group? Now, look, as I said, I do think Japan is a team that can hold surprises. I think they've got brilliant players this time around, and they could surpass how well they did last time in the competition. Obviously, now we know a few more names, as a few more names have been added to the Premier League, such as Tomiyasu. obviously from Arsenal, but unfortunately I do think Japan will be the team that takes third place, as Spain and Germany once again look so strong. And in terms of the winner between these two teams, I have no idea who could end up taking it. Obviously, looking at Spain, they did really well at the Olympics in terms of football, showing that they've got brilliant youth coming through. Obviously, looking at them at the Nations League, came all the way to the final stage. I think Spain have got a really good team. Now look, this is where my mind is at. Looking at Germany, I think Germany, player for player, has a better team than Spain, 100% in almost every single position. I'm not saying every position, but almost. But the thing is, looking at Spain, I think they play the better football. I think they've got some brilliant youngsters, and at the end of the day, it is the quality of football you play that is the match winner. And because of that, I think Spain will win this group, with Germany coming in second place. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still kind of salty that David De Gea didn't even get a national call-up in their previous international break. I mean, you get 3 goalkeepers, and you're not gonna choose one of the most informed goalkeepers in the entire world. Okay. I am disgusted, but at the end of the day, I still expect Spain to do well. Of course, moving on to Group F, I mean, this might be one of the most interesting groups in this entire tournament. We've got Belgium, who for years was ranked as the #1 team in the entire world. Many people backed them to win the previous World Cup. We've got Canada, their first World Cup since in the last 36 years. We've got Morocco, once again, just filled of top quality talent from all over Europe. Obviously, you've got Saiss, the Wolverhampton Wanderers centre back. He's been brilliant. In Yesri in the striker position, we've got Hakimi, maybe the best right back in the world in many people's opinions. We've got Bueno, obviously the Sevilla goalkeeper. There are some brilliant players in this Morocco team, and they could cause an upset. And of course, finally in this group, we've got Croatia, the runners-up to the 2018 World Cup. What a group this is, first of all, and I can promise you, this out of all groups might be the one that upsets the most people.
Them's fighting words.
Or it's one of the groups where I just can guarantee the most people would get upset with. Look, I will say this, most recently ranked #1 in the world, I have to go for Belgium. Yes, I know they are exiting that golden generation of players. I don't think that they've got much of a chance to win this World Cup compared to other years, although I do still think that they have a chance. It is the team that I normally support at the World Cup. For some reason, I guess it's because they used to have the good old Marwan Fellaini. As a Manchester United fan, I tended to back him quite a lot. But of course, you've still got Romelu Lukaku, who's brilliant on a national team level. You've still got Kevin De Bruyne, best midfielder in the world in my opinion. You've still got Courtois. There are brilliant players, and Belgium once again have no excuse but to win this group. Now, in terms of the other 3 teams, as I said, this is where I guess I upset the most people. And to be honest with you, I think this is going to piss a lot of people off. But I think Morocco will come second place in this group. Look, Morocco really impressed me at the African Cup of Nations. I think they've got a brilliant team in terms of Boufal. He performed really well. At the tournament, as I said, I named a bunch of their players who really impressed me. And in terms of the African style of football, once again, as I said, it just depends on, can they compete when it comes to European football or football on a world stage? I guess this is the group that is going to test it the most, as we also have the likes of Canada in there. As I said, this is going to be a really interesting group, but a gut feeling of mine does think Morocco will end second place, which does, of course, leave Canada and Croatia. Now, Canada, yes, I know this is your first time in 36 years back at the World Cup. Welcome back, but I do think you will see the door almost immediately, as I do think Canada will see 4th place in this group. As I said, nothing bad about Canadians, but just looking at the other 3 nations, they've got a lot more experience, especially in recent years at the world stage, and I just can't see Canada competing with them. Yes, they've got brilliant players. Obviously, we know David's one of the top goal scorers in the French league, more goals than Lionel Messi. I mean, that's a stat to be proud of. Obviously, Alphonso Davies should be back from injury. I mean, once again, Canada have got a brilliant squad, but compared to the rest of the group, it's a tricky one, which yes, does mean that I think the runners-up of the previous World Cup will be grouped. I think they'll end up 3rd place in Group F. As I said, that is not an easy prediction to make, but as I said, they are also kind of leaving a golden generation, but definitely a team that could surprise us. Now, of course, looking at Group G, our second final group. What a group this is. Brazil, obviously, they are unbeaten in the South American World Cup qualifications, the only team to have qualified for every single World Cup ever. As we know, Brazil has got 3 world-class players per every single position. They will be a threat and a real favorite to win this tournament. Looking at Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon, all three of these are considered by most people to be the three biggest underdogs of this tournament. I think whichever team ends up qualifying for the next stage could upset a lot further in this competition as well. Now the question is, who will that end up being? Now once again, am I going to have the same arguments? Am I going to say the African inside of me wants Cameroon to make it far? Well, yes, to be honest, I really want to say Cameroon, but something does tell me that Serbia is going to be the dark horse of World Cup 2022. I think Serbia will end up in second place. Obviously, they topped their qualification group that had Portugal in it. They did very well. I mean, to have Vlahovic, to have Mitrovic and Tadic up front, what a deadly trio. I mean, I think that could upset a lot of people. Obviously, they've also got Milinkovic, Savic. I mean, Serbia really have a team to be scared of. Obviously, looking at Switzerland and Cameroon, I have no idea what to do in terms of this prediction. Looking at Cameroon, they did so well at AFCON. Obviously, I mean, their team is absolutely terrific. In terms of the physicality, they could give a lot of teams here a run for their money. Obviously, came third place at AFCON. Now, once again, can they beat a team like Switzerland in their group? Not that it really matters if you're not going to make it through to the next stage, but in terms of pride, and to be honest, I do think Switzerland will just end up taking it. I'm so sorry, Cameroon. I do think if you were placed in a different group, it would be a lot easier, but this is one of the toughest groups in the tournament. But of course, looking at Switzerland, how well they did at the Euros, I think they could end up repeating it, which does of course take us to our final group, Group H. Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and Korea. What a group this is to talk about. And of course, the big question is, who will end up winning it? Well, I think first of all, let's start at the bottom end of the table. Who do I think has no chance? Now, to be honest, I am really tempted to put the likes of either Ghana or Korea in fourth place, to be honest with you. Look, South Korea have got a brilliant team. Out of all South American teams, they might be the best at the moment. I think they've got a brilliant team and they've proven their growth over the last few years. Yes, I know they've got the likes of Heung-min Son. I think one of the best wingers in the entire world, to be honest with you, does rival for maybe the top 3 left wings in the entire world, in my opinion. So heavily underrated, but it matters with the rest of the team. What can the rest of the team do as well? But unfortunately, I think compared to everyone else, I am going to put South Korea in fourth place. I really don't want to, but I do think that's what will happen in terms of third place, who will just miss out on qualifying for the next stage. Unfortunately, I do think it is going to be the Black Stars of Ghana. Look, Ghana are an absolutely terrific team. As we know, Andre Ayew, absolutely terrific striker up front. As we know, Thomas Partey, a world-class defensive midfielder. I do think Ghana have a brilliant team, but as I've been saying for a while now, I think defensively they might struggle versus, let's call it, one of the best attacking groups in this entire competition. As I said, you've got Ronaldo, you've got Suarez, Cavani, you've got Heung-min Son. So versus a very weak defensed Ghana team, they might struggle. Obviously, Ghana didn't do well at AFCON, so that also doesn't vote well in their favor. But in terms of winning this group, do I think it will be Portugal? Do I think the 2016 Euro winners will end up winning this group? To be honest, I think Uruguay will win this group. Yes, I know that's going to upset a lot of Portuguese fans, but to be honest, I do think Portugal will qualify to the next stage. I definitely think they've got a shot at winning this competition overall, but obviously looking at them, they've just scraped qualification into this. They didn't do well at the Euros, where if you look at the likes of Uruguay, yes, they haven't necessarily done well at the South American qualifiers, but I'm just looking at their team at the moment. To have the likes of Godin, Jimenez, you've obviously got that Barcelona centre-back, all in their defence. Obviously, you've got the likes of Muslera, obviously brilliant goalkeeper, especially on a world stage. You've got Benteke, you've got Valverde, you've got Cavani, you've got Suarez. What a team. Now, yes, I know Portugal still have a very good team. I do think it will be neck and neck, but I do think Uruguay will just steal it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, does it for my very early World Cup group stage prediction video. Yes, as I said, I will end up updating this in the future. These are just my initial thoughts. As I said, are they all going to be 100% correct? Probably not. That's just not how predictions end up working. But guys, I hope you did end up enjoying this video. Let me know if you have any other opinions, to put them down in the comment section down below. Let me know where you think I've gone wrong. But of course, as I said, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to see more World Cup content in the future, don't forget to hit this the like button down below. This like button, if I want to be that specific. But guys, until next time, this has been Finn, FYNN. Good luck to all the groups participating. Cheers.